And welcome. And thank you for doing the black, what is the white snow for all of us from southern Utah.
Speak for yourself.
I call this meeting today, the March 24th, for the Utah Commission to order. We're going to start with the pledge as usual, and I've asked Commissioner Gardner to offer the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Again, as usual, please make sure that your cell phones, pages, and pacemakers are the vibrator, so we don't have to disturb the meeting. We start with the introduction of the commission and then UDOT family next. So to my right, start please, and then tell your name and your jurisdiction.
I'm Rhonda Menlo, and I represent Region 1, a large section of northern Utah, and I'm delighted to be here with you today. Thank you.
Good morning, Natalie Gochner. I work at the University of Utah and represent Region 2, which is Salt Lake, Summit, and Tooele counties. Great to be with you this snowy morning.
I don't know how to follow that snowy morning. Donna Law, I am a commissioner at large and my home is in Cedar City.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kevin Van Tassel. I live in Bernal, Utah. I'm a commissioner at large. And I love the snow, but it's time to quit.
My name is Nagy Zanadi. I have the privilege of chairing the commission, and I bring warm greetings from semi-sunny St. George with a 54-degree temperature. For those of you going to sunny St. George this afternoon or tomorrow, I promise you will have the sun and warm. Commissioner Evans on his way, bumper to bumper. I think he's going to make it by 9 o'clock. We will wait for him, but we will excuse Commissioner Kramer, who is traveling with the family. Charlotte, would you please introduce the UDOT family?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Carlos Braceras, Executive Director, Utah Department of Transportation. Still here, Heather, then we'll go to Terry and Lisa, and then we'll start over there.
Heather Barthold, Commission Assistant.
Terry Newell, Deputy Director of Planning and Investment. Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director, Engineering and Operations.
Eric Rasband, Region 3 Planning Manager.
Let's go across Monty.
Monty Aldridge, Region 4 Director.
Peter Asplund with Policy and Legislative Affairs.
Ivan Arnold, Financial Programming. Bob Hulley, STIP Coordinator. Brad Palmer, Region 2 Program Manager.
Fred Peterson, Operations.
Matt Moss, Aeronautics Director.
Cameron Gage, Region 4 Program Manager.
Kirk Thornock, Region 4 Deputy Director. Dan Hewitt, Program Development.
Josh Van Jura, Transit and Trails.
Chris Slater, Region 1 Program Manager. Rob White, Region 1 Director.
Nathan Peterson, Region 2 Deputy Director.
I don't think Chris is going to introduce himself.
Project Director. Andy Jesse is for case.
Carter Swanwick, Project Development Director.
Jordan Lee, Technology and Innovation.
Maria Angello, Technology and Innovation.
Thank you. At this time also, I would like to recognize and welcome our dear and friend and partner from the Federal Highway Administration. Let's see. Do we have anyone online that I need to introduce? Brigitte, welcome. Good morning.
Where's she at?
She's online, I guess. So that's okay. The next item of the agenda is the public comments. I don't see Ricky this morning. Maybe she's on her way. And we don't have any online comments at this point.
Mr. Chairman, if it would be okay, I imagine she would very much wants to come here and reinforce the project she's talked to the commission about, but if she shows up, then
We'll save the time for her.
thank you.
Yes, no problem. Well, Ivan, lucky you. You're the one.
That was quick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm Ivan Barrero with the Federal Highway Administration. And as always, I thank you for giving me a few minutes to bring you up on items that might be of interest to you from the federal side. I want to start first of all by echoing the things that were expressed to the plow operators here in the state. This has been a long winter, and they have been called on for long days and long weekends, and they do an amazing job clearing those roads, keeping us safe. So thank you to all of those operators. I hope they get a nice time off after this is all said and done, because they definitely deserve it.
Yes.
Not only for you, but all the local ones, counties, cities, and everybody who's out there clearing that snow. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Couple of things to bring to your attention. We did have a notice of funding opportunity for the charging fueling infrastructure discretionary grant program. So this kind of goes along with the national electric vehicle infrastructure. This is another program that's available for applicants to apply, and it's provides $1.25 billion over 5 years, and so this notice of funding opportunity is actually making available $700 million for each one of these two programs I will describe here. So basically, there's two programs under this discretionary grant that people can apply for. The community program, which basically is to provide charging stations and in communities throughout the state. And they can be placed in public buildings, public schools, public parks, other areas that are accessible by the public. So that's the community program. And then there's also a corridor program that allows for more electric charging infrastructure. Well, actually, not just electric charging. I'm sorry. This is the electric charging and fueling infrastructure. There's also hydrogen, propane, natural gas, those kind of things that can be those types of fuels that can be installed out there. And the corridor program will allow for these chargers and fuel providers to be installed along the alternative fuel corridors that we have designated. So those two programs, this program will provide funds for that. And let me go to the next one here. So yeah, so each one of these get up to $700 million available. And applications are due by May 30th, 2023. And if anybody is interested, I've provided a link where they can get more information on this program. Let's see. We did have an award for one of the discretionary grants. The Salt Lake City Corporation received $1.97 million to conduct a study under the Reconnecting Communities pilot program. And so what they applied for and received the money for was for the Salt Lake City's east-west divide effort. So they are going to study how to connect the east and the west side of Salt Lake City. What are the options that they can use to bring that? And under this program, they can do many things. If they wanted to do structures over the interstate, under the interstate, cap it. Those things are available. In the end, of course, UDA has the last word, but the study will come up with options that they can utilize to help reconnect the east and the west side of the city. Let's see. So this is just to make you aware. So it's called the Buy America Act, or BABA. It's part of the IIJA, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, which is also called a bill, a bipartisan infrastructure law. So we're getting into this triple name for these highway bills. But anyway, it has a requirement that the federal agencies look at their existing waivers for Buy America and then put them out for public comment. And then after we receive those public comments, that we decide whether or not this waiver is still of value, needs to be continued, or whether it can be rescinded. So Federal Highways happens to have one waiver that we've had since 1983 that waives Buy America for manufactured products. So this has been put out there for comment. It was published on the 17th. So we're looking for comments from the public or agencies as to whether or not this is a waiver that should be either retained or continued. So if anybody wants to comment, I provided the link there. And the comments are due April 17th. Any question, anything I mentioned so far? We've also came out with guidance. I think this is a nice one to have for state DOTs that will allow them to start doing relocation of utilities prior to the completion of the environmental process. So should you that decide to pursue this, they would, once they get the utility relocation works, they would do it. They work with their own funds, but then they can come into federal highways. Once the project is ready to go, the actual construction project come in and they request reimbursement for those funds. So, and there's several things that need to be provided once the request is made for reimbursement. But it does the law that now allows for this work to take place prior to completion of the environmental process for the project. Should help get utilities relocated quicker and maybe the projects out there built earlier. This is just the update on what's going on with the national, the notice of funding opportunities. The charging and fueling infrastructure one is the one I just mentioned. So the notice of funding opportunities out and it closes on May 30th. And then we have several other ones that are coming down the pipeline here. And so if anybody's interested, there are links to each one. They can get more information on the wildlife crossing one is not on here for some reason. I don't know. When I went to this website, it did not list it, but I understand that they are getting ready to come up with a notice of funding opportunity. There was talk yesterday about how the legislature have apportioned some funds for that for matching that grant. So I know there's interest in that here in the state. Just a link to where people can go and find out more information on these grants that I've mentioned. And I wanted to give some kudos here to you that, one of the things that has to be done, we at Federal Highway, we have to authorize the funds for the projects. And when I say projects, it could be a construction project, it could be a right-of-way acquisition project, it could be a utility relocation project, an environmental study, anything that decides to use federal funds on. So they do come into our office and we have to review and then take action. We call authorize those funds. So we normally track how long it takes for us to take action on those requests we receive from you. And I wanted to present this just to show, because we went over it this on Monday, and I was just amazed how quickly we're able to approve. What you see there, what we see on the top left, that's just so for usually we have throughout the year for new project authorizations. We last year we had 173. This year we're halfway through. We have 58 new authorizations we've done, and the one on the right has just the ones that we authorized for construction. But beyond these numbers, there's also amendments and modifications, things that need to be done. If we authorize something and for a certain dollar amount, and then for whatever reason the amount increases, then we have to do an amendment. So it's not just these numbers; it's probably triple what we're showing here, just to show that there is a lot of going back and forth. And time is of the essence, of course. You that wants to get these things approved so they can go ahead and advertise the project and get the work done. So last time we checked, we were below. Our target in the office is 2 days. Let's get this done within 2 days. So, and we're about a day and a half. I just wanted to show that, and that's not only a reflection of what we do in our office, but the quality of information that's provided to us by you. That if we don't have all we need to take action on this, then there's a lot of back and forth, and you gotta have the environmental document, the plan has to be, the project has to be designed, the PS&E, the estimate, the the right of way has to clear. There's a lot of stuff that needs to come in for us to take this action, and the fact that we're able to do it in less than 2 days for the most part, to me, it's just amazing. Having worked in other places, and I myself having to do this, I was just amazed. So I just wanted to let you know that we have a good system going on here. UDOT knows what we need, and they're able to give it to us in a timely manner so we can take action on this request very quickly. So appreciate that. Thank you. So that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions for me on anything? All right.
Yes, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Other than I think the 2-day thing is kind of remarkable, and the fact that we come in under that is extra remarkable.
Yeah, it's great. And I think it helps too that we do a lot of things electronically now. When I was doing this, it was all paper. and we would get a delivery from the state, a stack, and then we had to go through and stuff and then get back to the, yeah, electronic systems really do help expedite things. And UDA has given us access to all of this so we can get in, check what we need to do, and take action real quickly. That really makes a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 on the agenda is UDOT scoreboard at this time. Let's see, Carmen Wenwick, he will be using that, and Troy Peterson will follow him.
Thank you, Heather. Hi, Carmen Swanwick, Director of Project Development, and I'm going to give you just an update on where we are with our project delivery status over the last month. Starting here, you can see we do have 6 past due projects going into advertising. They're really due to third parties, so we're coordinating on right-of-way, the Navajo Nation, and some utilities. We have another 37 coming up within the next 60 days. But as you can see, we have a lot more coming, about 250 over the next couple of months. So we are very busy these days in delivering projects. Moving down into the advertising performance. So over the fiscal year, we have already let 121 projects. And as you can see, that total is about $920 million worth of projects already let. Moving down into the total cost of projects. You can see we've let a lot of projects out over the last month, and this table is over the last month. And about $420 million worth of projects have been let in the last month. We'll move down into kind of our advertising status. As you can see here in the red, you can go and hit on these, and it will tell you what the project is in the table below. But those red are the 6 that I've already described up above. And this is the time of year you can see where we'll be looking at a lot more future scoping of future projects. And I could pull this bar just a little bit there. And so you can kind of see like the trend that we will have. And so the blues are all those future projects and what's in scoping. So this is pretty typical for us at this time of year. Now kind of going in and looking at our construction contracts. Right now, in March, we have 170 projects in active construction. We can highlight here right now, contracts paid out are almost $1.2 billion in contracts paid. And you can see the remaining amount that we have on open contracts is about that $600 million. And again, this is pretty typical for us at this time of year. Moving down into the contractor payments, again, you can see the trends that we have. And we were a little low in February, but I think everybody recognizes the challenges we've had with doing construction this winter. So it really aligns with where we're at. And it kind of picked up a little bit. So we'll just continue to monitor that, but it's pretty standard for the way we do business. Now moving on to the contract award and engineer's estimate. You can see the blue is the engineer's estimate. There we go. And the green is the original contract amount. You can see that, we had asked everybody on project teams to go back and reevaluate their cost estimates because inflation. So we ended up, you can see we were estimating a little high because prices did start to come down. And so we were actually getting really good bids with those. And you can see that with what we had in the green.
That's progress.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And we hope, yesterday we showed the commission the graphic that Carmen's group came up with. Try to guess the future, estimate the future, sorry,
Yes.
Carmen.
Well,
Where this is gonna go.
either word works, really.
But, what this is this a reflection of the work that the commission does every month as well, where we come back and engineers estimates, says we need to ask for more money, we bid the job. And then if we can free up money in the risk analysis, then you guys de-obligate that. So it's a lot of back and forth.
So there's a lot of coordination that happens in there. And I do plan to give an update similar to last year on where we saw our construction costs at the May meeting. So I'm planning to do that. And that's all I have to present today. I don't know if there's any specific questions.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. Troy Peterson, Operations Director. Thanks for the opportunity to update you on our zero fatalities strategic direction. Here, I'll go to the zero fatalities and we will look at, here we go. BMT, usually start with BMT. For the year so far, this is only through January. Our BMT is a 2 billion vehicle miles traveled. That's a big number for such a short period of time. You can see where we ended last year, 34. And then our fatality rate, obviously, it's at 0.89, which is trending in the direction we'd like to see. It's lower than the 2 or 3 previous years there. So looking at a snapshot where we are today, we have had 51 fatalities this year. I talked about this target where we try to for reduction based on a 2.5% reduction over the last 3 years, and right now we're trending below that, which is the first time I've been able to report that since I've been in this position. So keep our fingers crossed that that continues. Let me jump over here to the zero fatalities page and kind of show you a little quick report card. If you looked at where we were last year at this time, we were at 63 fatalities, and as a comparison to today, we're at 51. The other thing that was interesting is the number of crashes compared last year to this year. I would attribute that a lot to the weather we've had, which, we got to see this morning. So, but yeah, we do see more crashes of less than fatals, and I've attributed a lot to weather. But I'd like to take a few minutes now and just take some of this data that we had we received from 2022 and kind of show you some of the information that we put together to analyze and look at. Is that mine? Yes. So this first slide is showing the number of fatalities from 2020 through 2022, and a breakdown from the pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, and what considered vehicular. You can see that breakdown per year. Taking those fatalities and looking at them as they compare from an urban versus rural look, you can see how those break down. 114 on the rural sections come down since last year, but that 64-36 split, those trend up and down, looks like every so often. So nothing crazy there, but you start looking at state route versus non-state routes, you can start seeing there's an uptick at times, and these are some of the things we're faced at when we start looking at data. Is it's the randomness of where the fatalities occur, and so I just kind of wanted to keep an idea of where we see them and how and where what their effect is there.
Right, I mean, one of the things on that last slide is, that represents basically the split of traffic on state versus non-state roads. It's about a 70-30 split. About 90% of the trucks are on the state routes, but about 70-30 split. So you look at this and you can kind of say, well, it maybe ties back to those volumes.
By age category, you see the predominant number. I mean, or our biggest focus area, the 21 through 30-year-old age group. But realistically, you look at 21 through 40 is really seems to be the highest impact when it comes to fatalities on our system. This particular graph helps us understand the types of areas where we're seeing fatalities, and are we focusing our time on the right areas and how to fix this. You'll notice that roadway departures is our number one classification or fatality crash type that we are faced with here. Vehicles leaving our roadway.
Question, Trent?
Yes.
Where does the getting on the wrong side of the road show up on this one?
That could probably, I mean, it's going to be either probably in the other and or crossover.
Crossover is where it's.
Yeah, I would say it's probably going to be the other. Or crossover.
That's where.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you count. That's
Rural
where
highway, yeah.
And then one follow-up, when we see active transportation on this, can you assume that it also involves a vehicle or?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I maybe that should be self-evident, but I'm just like.
Well, I think when you said that, I was like, well, maybe we need to start to introduce, as we start to see more and more people riding and walking. If you've ever ridden a bike in the Netherlands, Copenhagen, I mean, it's just remarkable that amount of traffic. So, this is vehicle.
I've been fascinated by the bicyclist one, and it went from 8 to 6 to 15, and anyway, so the active is.
Yeah, the pedestrian numbers are the ones that have been the most increasing the most.
That's a concern, I saw as well in the data, and then this reinforces it, the active transportation. So just wondering, how do we address that? Is that a public safety issue? Is that
It's an all of us issue, and I think that's a big driver behind why we push so hard for the regional active transportation system that we talked about yesterday. And you also saw some recommendations yesterday in terms of the TAP transportation alternative programs, sidewalks that we do. So yes, it's a very important focus for us to be looking at ways to provide safe systems for cars, bikers, walkers, transit users.
That's great. We're seeing increased number of people on the trails in our community, and we're seeing some unique situations with e-bikes and pedestrians, and there's a discussion going on about.
There's some
how do
really
we-
interesting discussions. Should e-bikes be allowed on some of these active transportation trails? I've seen communities go both ways on this. They're trying to figure out ways to manage that speed differential, and what should be a normal respect thing that we all do have, sometimes isn't there.
Speaking of roadway departure, the next graph here has the breakdown when you start looking at urban versus rural. And predominantly, most of those are in our rural communities. Looking at the five safe driving behaviors, here's the kind of a breakdown showing when you look at those contributing factors, here's the breakdown as it's been over the last 2 or 3 years. After the last 3 years, you can see that's pretty pretty steady. DUI and unrestrained still the leading causes in the driving behavior piece.
We saw our, we do survey to determine how many Utahns are buckled up. Last year we were at 92.
92. Yep.
So look at the unrestrained, I think if you take out the bicyclists, pedestrians and motorcyclists,
Yes.
about 43% of the fatalities were unrestrained. And so that's 8% of our citizenry representing that high of a percentage. So helping educate on wearing your seatbelts continues to be a really, which seemed obvious, we shouldn't have to talk about, we still have to talk.
Do that in my own family.
But I'll keep working on it.
Okay, next one I have is unrestrained fatality trends. This is kind of if you look back over the last 12 years, this is what our unrestrained use looks like when it comes to fatalities only. You see a rather quick dip from 2010 to 2014, and then a steady rise and then drop. So we have this little wave action. It's like just get people to stay using their seatbelts. That's a constant battle for our zero fatalities group is our outreach and trying to remind people to wear a seatbelt. So do everything we can to remind everyone. Hopefully move that needle a little farther up to 92. I want to take a couple more graphs here and just dive into our pedestrians because it's a rather, it's important, but it's also alarming. I mean, you can see our trends from 20 to 22. Carlos just mentioned how the increase we see in pedestrian fatalities. And you look at that from an urban versus rural. This is definitely it's a problem everywhere, but it's a big urban problem we have in the cities. The next graph I have here will kind of shows you which I thought was rather interesting to see this one in 2022 that was an even split for fatalities either at an intersection or away from the intersection when it comes to pedestrian fatalities. Another one. And then I was looking at the same thing, pedestrians on state versus non-state routes. So it's not just a state route issue. This is affecting all routes.
Is that because at the non-intersection, this is people jaywalking, cutting across, or we have no access? How does that determine? How is that determined?
That is a jaywalking. There's other distracted drivers not paying attention when they leave the roadway as well. Because you remember the roadway departures is one of our items. So there's those two items play together. It's not you couldn't put your finger and say it's just from jaywalkers, and it's not just because of lighting. There's a lot of issues when it comes to pedestrians getting hit.
This would also include if somebody, say, broke down on the highway, on the interstate, and got out of their car and got hit, it would be shown in this area.
Good point. But that is a concern, right? And that's one of the things we're working on and trying to find more of these. We talked a little bit yesterday about hawk signals or mid-block type crossings, and so those are some things we're trying to work on installing more often when the criteria meets. I think those ones. If there's no questions, I just want to remind everyone, there's no song today. Jim?
You can get it on YouTube. I think you can download it.
Yeah, I know I've got a few emails. Wear a seatbelt, drive focused, calm, alert, and as important, do it sober. Any questions?
I have some comment. I just wanted to thank Troy for the opportunity. He let me be a part of his team this morning to be wheels on the ground to monitor the road conditions. I can tell you that things were moving, but they were about 1 mile an hour from the point of the mountain here. So anyway, sorry for being late this morning. I left half an hour early and still got here half an hour early.
Glad you're here safe.
Anyway, thank you. But the good news is that people were spacing, they were driving, watching. So it was good. People were trying to pay attention this morning. So I was impressed, even when you come down to 215 and I was worried about the ice on that pass. People were doing great. So I can report that.
It's working.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, before next item, I see that Ricky is here already. Would you mind coming forward and introduce yourself?
Hello, Mr. Chair and the Commission. Ricky Renko Browning from the Utah Petroleum Association. I sincerely apologize. I had to rescue my nanny and my child who got stuck on the road. So a Herculean job for all the UDOT employees. Really appreciate the efforts. It's been a crazy year. Thank you for giving me a moment. So I wanted to give a really brief update. I hope I'm not being a bit of a broken record to you all, but give you an update on where we are with US 191, the traffic volumes and the needs out there. So I had an opportunity to also listen to a little bit of your workshop yesterday, and some of the clarification around whether the 88.5 million was or was not funded. And I will just assure you that yes, I think as Leif explained, the legislature did provide the full 88.5 million requested. And it's not a coincidence that that amount exactly matches the UDOT study that went into supporting that. We were very clear in articulating that in the funding request. So if we can move to the next slide, or can I control this? Perfect, thank you. All right, so I wanted to give an update on where we are in the basin. So you all have seen this graph and this growth chart before. That red line is the 85,000 barrels a day that we continue to supply to the Salt Lake refining market via US 40 up to Salt Lake. The curve of the gold bar going off to the right is the production volumes that we are going to see beyond that 85,000 barrels a day going to Salt Lake. So today we are exporting about 60,000 barrels a day, all via US 191 down to Price and Helper to the rail terminal. That's about 10,000 more barrels a day than the last time I had the opportunity to see you all. And that's actually ahead of our growth projection here. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an update that we are continuing to grow. We are expanding more rapidly than what we had put into that growth projection to you all, and wanted to give you an update that we're a little bit ahead of the curve. As that growth in production in the state grows and that growth in export grows, we also wanted to articulate for you what that means to the state of Utah in terms of severance tax. So if you look at that chart on the bottom, what you're seeing in that yellow line is the new severance tax that is supported solely from the barrels being moved down US 191 to export markets. So you can see over 5 years, we're approaching almost $400,000 from those new barrels being produced down 191. Overall, if we look at the 5-year projection, together with the production that is going to be produced to support the Salt Lake market and moved via Highway 40, we're at almost $1 billion in 5 years. Yes, those are productions, but yes, we are more than delivering on that projection that has been looking backwards from 2019. So significant value for the state of Utah, significant dollars that hopefully we can redirect into infrastructure needs such as 191, which is exactly what we saw come out of this legislative session. I also want to talk a little bit about, well, actually, let me just take a step back. So again, I know the basin has been boom and bust for years. You all have heard that the basin is going to grow. I just want to highlight here that we are actually delivering on that promise. So this is tax commission data. You can see the last 5 plus years, we've been somewhere in the mid 30,000s in terms of the amount of severance tax generated from oil and gas production. This is 8 months of the current fiscal year. These numbers match to the projections I showed you on the current slide, totaling nearly $1 billion in this 5-year period. So I just want to stress, I know you've heard it's boom and bust, but we are actively delivering on those barrels, and the basin is in a very different situation than we were in the past. So what does that mean in terms of trucks on US 191? I wanted to give you an update there because, again, it's a little bit different and accelerated compared to what we talked about over the summer. If we look at this slide, the bar chart, the blue bars and the gray bars are the number of trucks per hour. They correspond to the axis on the left. If you look on the right, that's the minutes between trucks. So trucks per minute corresponding to the axis on the right. So if you look back to 2019, 2020 timeline, we had 0 oil trucks. That was not very long ago. There was nothing going down 191. Hence our kind of request for expediting this request. We also did not see this coming. By first quarter of 2022, we had 3 trucks an hour, 2 of which were oil trucks, 1 sand truck. We have since made changes so that we are producing sand in basin, no longer trucking sand, to get those trucks off the road and try and alleviate some of that pressure. So at that point, back in 2022, we were at about a truck every 21 minutes. Today, in addition to the other commercial, tourism and recreation and commerce moving along 191, which is also significant of its own right, we're at about a truck every 8 to 9 minutes today. That's very significant, obviously, and really a challenge over that route for those of you that know it. By this time next year, we're going to have a truck every 6 minutes. And by 2024, if those projections hold as they have for the last several years, we're talking about a truck every 4 to 5 minutes. So I know there have been real challenges along that route. I know that at the summit, the pavement is very, very challenging. This has been a historic winter, as you all know very, very well. We've had to close that route several times. That's meant that we have actually shut in wells because we don't have enough tankage. We don't have anywhere to send that product. So I just want to ask for your continued support. I'm so appreciative of the support that the commission has given, that UDOT staff has paid to this issue. And as you go through your programming in the next couple of months, I would just ask for your continued support to do anything that you can to expedite this so that we can continue safely moving product and people along that route.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
I just might share with you a conversation I had 5 days ago. I was discussing 191 with the lieutenant of the highway patrol. He talked about some of the issues that we got. He also told me that in that very short period of time, there will be 50 coal trucks a day going from the Desperado mine and over by Rangeley back to Price to supply a power plant. With the troubles they've had over there with the fire in a mine or two, they're having to import coal from Colorado from Desperado back to Price. That's unbelievable. But that's probably going to be that way, he said, for another couple of years. So we're dealing with this timely, not fast enough, I know.
I understand the
Got a
constraints.
few more breadcrumbs we got to figure out how to handle too.
So tricky question before we go. So the quality of the oil in Utah, we know it's waxy. So what kind of discount now on the Texas market they get? Is it $15, $10?
No, so if we deal with something called a netback price, which is your price once it reaches the refinery. So it's either a plus or a minus on WTI, and then you subtract off the transportation costs. If you exclude the transportation costs, we're actually getting a premium. Depends a little bit, somewhere $3 to $5 above WTI at the Gulf Coast. We have very low sulfur, very low nitrogen. And although it is transportation challenged because of the wax is extremely valuable for high-end lubricants and for insulation materials, for example, for cosmetics. So it is a very sought-after oil. It's just very challenging to transport with a more expensive transportation cost.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item of agenda is consent agenda, and Ivan, I think he's going to be presenting that, and he will follow number 6 also.
Oh. I don't know if anyone else came in that wanted to make public comment.
Yeah, those that came late in the UDOT family, Jim, let's start with you. Introduce yourself for the record.
For the record, Jim Evans, live in Utah County, Region 3. Great to be here today. Sorry once again for my delay. You leave early and you get here late, so.
And those of the UDOT family came late. Just introduce yourself, please.
I'm Rob Clayton. I'm the Region 3 Director. Sorry for being late.
I know where he was. Same road I was on.
Okay, go this way.
Another Region 3 guy, come on.
Yeah, Matt Parker, Region 3 Program Manager. Arlington was a little rough.
He came from Wasatch County.
Go
My
ahead.
name is Eric Dew. I'm the Bridge Program Manager.
Becky Nix, the Bridge Management Engineer.
Ty Bringer, Stokesville City.
Anyone else?
Mark Daniels, UDOT Structures Design Manager.
Thank you. Ivan, you still have the floor.
Good morning. Ivan Harlow, Financial Programming. Our first item on the agenda, item number 5, is the consent agenda. Included in the consent agenda packet are the minutes from last month's commission meeting, February 10th in Harriman, the area tour, and a list of projects. The projects included is in the exhibit have either been awarded or have been identified for budget amounts that can be recovered or are in the closeout process that funding can be removed and reprogrammed. So scrolling through our minutes, just going to page down.
Our excellent minutes by Heather.
Excellent minutes.
Best minutes in the state.
And these are included in the packet, so I'm going to scroll to the bottom. You can go back through and see them individually. Down to our list of projects. This is the list of projects that are either adjusting to an award of a budget recovery or currently in the closeout process. This money will be put back into the different programs to be programmed and projects brought to the commission. Shown here. Our request today is a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
I second.
It's a motion and a second. Any other questions, clarifications? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Thank you.
Moving to item number 6, the program development STIP amendments. 6A-1 is the Region 1 Transportation Alternatives Program. Shown here, there are 4 different transportation alternatives, project descriptions, as well as the local partner that will be included in the project. Included in the item are the individual project maps. Project 20173 is a 10-foot shared paved trail along Gentile Street in Layton City. Second project, new sidewalk along 500 South for Farmington Canyon Creek Elementary School. Project number 3, new sidewalk along Park and 100 East in Randolph. And project number 4, new sidewalk along Country Lane in Fruit Heights City. Shown here on the map. Our request today is a motion to approve adding these transportation alternative projects to the Region 1 Transportation Alternatives Program and to the current STIP as detailed.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-1 is approved. Thank you.
Item 6A-2 is the Case Creek Trail pedestrian overpass at Layton Front Runner. This particular project, Case Creek, the Case Creek Trail, Layton City applied for 2 different program funds, one through Wasatch Front Regional Council and one through the TIP Active project program. It was funded by both. Unfortunately, the costs increased above what the application was. So rather than just canceling one of the 2 projects, they'll be consolidating and using the TIF Active money to match the congestion mitigation air quality from Wasatch Front Regional Council. And then there will also be some of the local match included. So this project will be consolidated. The funding adjustment, the funding will end this bottom right-hand corner of our proposed project value at the TIF Active, CMAQ, and the local match for our project value. In the justification, Layton City and Davis County submitted applications for the Case Creek Trail pedestrian overpass at Layton Front Runner Station project to the Active Transportation Investment Fund program and Wasatch Front Regional Council's Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Improvement Program. They were successful with each. application. In each program, the funding received from one grant can be used to satisfy the local match requirements of the other. After the funds have been awarded, further engineering in the project showed the need for additional funding above the 6 million application project value. Project sponsors request the project be consolidated to a single PIN and the unneeded local match funding be removed from the project. So located here on our map along the Front Runner Trail. Another map. And the pedestrian overpass.
Do we know the length of that overpass by chance?
And phone a friend.
We're up. I do not. Sorry.
Okay.
A request today is a motion to consolidate the Case Creek Trail pedestrian overpass at Layton Front Runner projects and to adjust funding as detailed.
Make that motion, Lucky.
Thank you.
Second motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-2 is approved. Thank you.
6A-3, the SR 177 West Davis Highway, I-15 and SR 67 to SR 193 is a funding addition request from the Transportation Investment Fund. The request for additional funds for the West Davis Highway project is the result of market-driven cost increases in right-of-way, material price increases in fuel, asphalt, and other materials due to supply chain interruptions and utility delays. These increases have exceeded the current contingency as the project is still under construction. The cost is estimated based on their current information. Map here for the West Davis Highway. Request today is a motion to add funding to the West Davis Highway project as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Just $50 million is a lot of money, but when you look at it as a percentage, it's 6%, which is less scary than some of the other increases that we've seen. So that just helped me feel a little bit better about something that many zeros.
Didn't the commission deobligate 50 million from this project?
That is correct. When this project, when it was awarded, we adjusted 50 million off the project 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and put that 50 million to work. Not expecting the cost increases that we've seen during that same time period. So we're putting that money, almost that same money back.
That's an excellent reminder. How do you do that?
We have
I
amazing
can't remember what I
people.
ate for breakfast.
We have folks sitting on the edge of their table back there, Rex and Randy, that live this project. I don't do anything, they do.
Thank you for that.
Called money.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry,
Item
who
six-
seconded? I didn't hear.
Oh, we had Kevin,
Okay,
Commissioner
sorry.
Hassan. So item 6A-3 is approved.
Thank you. 6A-4 is the I-15 at 90 and 900 South right-of-way project. This is a funding addition from the Transportation Fund. The current scope of the I-15 at 900 South right-of-way project is to identify right-of-way issues from the original construction of I-15 in 1960s. Region contingency funds were allocated to facilitate title research, design, and appraisal services. Additional funds are needed to complete the acquisition based on the appraisals and negotiations between the landowner and the department. During the original construction of I-15, a gap in the right-of-way was never acquired by the department. This was discovered in 2021 when the neighboring owner acquired adjoining land from Union Pacific Railroad and installed a fence under the bridge structure that spans 900 South in Salt Lake City, blocking UDOT's ability to conduct inspections and maintenance. Shown here on our map. request today is a motion to approve adding funds to the I-15 at 900 South right-of-way project as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make this motion.
Thank you.
I thought this was, our agenda today is so disparate. I thought this was a very interesting item for having to do title research back to construction done in the sixties.
I'd second that.
Thank you. But the owner of the property is in compliance and was free to sell.
Charles? Come on, Charles, come on.
Good. Go.
He doesn't have an item on the agenda, so I'm glad I get to share mine with him.
So the owner of this property, is he willing to sell? Are you negotiating?
We have reached a tentative agreement on price. We're working on a lease back. And I'm gonna have some conversations with my friends and structures about the scope of the lease back and what can be conducted under the structure that exists there. So there's a little bit of work left to do, but we have the contours of an agreement in place.
Thank you, Charles. Introduce yourself. And,
Charles Stormont, Director of Right of Way and Property Management.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions from either? Go ahead. No question.
I was just going to compliment Charles for his always at the ready, thorough understanding of everything. So true. That's my discussion.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-4 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. 6A-5 is a scope change to SR 201 over 3200 West Bridge Deck Replacement Project, the bridge rehabilitation in Salt Lake County. This project currently consists of a bridge deck replacement on structure 0C709, which carries SR 201 over 3200 West in Salt Lake County. Based on recent inspections of this bridge, along with assessing the needs of other structures within the local area, the following scope changes are proposed. During the most routine inspection of this structure, the 0C709, it was noted that fatigue cracking was observed on several of the steel girders throughout the length of the superstructure. These deficiencies were evaluated in detail, and the bridge was deemed acceptable to leave in service without restrictions in regards to the safety of the traveling public and the bridge's overall structural integrity. These deficiencies need to be addressed in order to maintain the long-term durability of the structure. This scope change will allow for a holistic rehabilitation of this bridge. Scope change number 2 is the addition of 0C669 to the project. Built in 1980, this structure carries 5600 West over I-80 in Salt Lake County, Region 2. This structure has been a vital part of the infrastructure network with the area, with the AADT of 19,000 and approximately a third of that being truck traffic. Recent inspection reports and maintenance findings have shown significant deterioration of the concrete bridge deck, as well as degradation, words are tough, of the existing polyester concrete overlay. These issues have caused a decrease in rideability and pose a notable threat to the overall service life and durability of the structure. The bridge dropped to poor condition during the 2022 in-service inspection. It has been determined the bridge deck of this structure has reached the end of its service life and a deck replacement is warranted. In addition, Region 2 has expressed the interest in widening this bridge to either bring the existing DDI geometry up to standard or return the interchange to its original configuration. Based on the similarities in scope and proximity, it is proposed that this bridge be added to the project to take advantage of potential design and construction efficiencies. The current funding is for design, and additional funding needed for construction will be presented at a future Transportation Committee meeting once the project team has revised the existing estimate. Located here on our map, this is 5600 West. This is the new structure to be proposed to be added, and the existing structure down here on 201 here.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
These two bridges were fairly close to the epicenter of the earthquake we had a couple of 3-4 years ago. Did they suffer any damage or realistic or any of that we're doing?
Becky, do you want to answer that or? Oh, oh.
Good morning, Cheryl Hirsch, Chief Structural Engineer. No, these ones, we didn't have to do any repairs for the.
We'll just be doing upgraded maintenance to maintain for the next 50 years.
That's right.
Thank you, Cheryl. What is the shelf life of the polyester overlay?
So polyester we're expecting about 25 years. The problem on this bridge is it's the underlaying concrete that's degraded, and so it's causing that to fail.
Thank you.
Sure. Do you have pictures of the two structures? First one over 201. And 5600 West over I. I think this is the picture that shows that underlying concrete. Our request today is a motion to approve the scope change of the SR 201 over 3200 West Bridge Deck Replacement Project as detailed.
So moved.
And I'll second it, and this is an easy one.
Thank you.
After seeing those pictures.
Thank you, Eric, for providing such a detailed explanation. Thank you. Makes a big difference for the commission. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments, even though it was the easy one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 6A-5 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. 6A6, Bridge Formula Program Project Additions. We have two projects being proposed to be added to this program. At the April 29, 2022 Transportation Commission meeting, the commission approved the bridge list, a list of 90 projects prioritized based on condition and load restrictions eligible for funding from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act Bridge Formula Program. The following structures are on that approved project, the approved Bridge Formula Program structure list. The 300 East Bridge is over Mill Creek and South Salt Lake, and the 200 East Bridge over Mill Creek and South Salt Lake. The first one, 300 East Bridge over Mill Creek. This proposed PIN will perform a full bridge replacement of this structure. The existing structure is currently in poor condition and is load posted to 19 tons. This structure is also on the federal aid highway system. Therefore, the project will require a local agency match under the Bridge Formula Program. South Salt Lake City is in support of the project and is able to provide the necessary match. The next item, also in Mill Creek, over Mill Creek, this proposed project will perform a full bridge replacement over of the structure. The existing structure is currently in low fare condition. This structure is not on the federal aid highway system, therefore no local agency match is required under the Bridge Formula Program. South Salt Lake has been contacted and is in support of this project. As these two bridges are located in such close proximity to each other, these proposed projects will be advertised together, allowing for added cost savings during construction. Located here on our map. And pictures of the structures, 300 East. And 200 East. Our request today is a motion to approve the Bridge Formula Program project additions as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, Navi.
Thank you. There's a motion on the second on these two bridges. Any questions? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-6 is approved.
Thank you. Moving into Region 3, the Provo River Parkway Trail. The Provo River Parkway project is ready to advertise for construction. During the design and constructability review of the project, it was determined that the cost of the construction of the parkway has increased in the last year. The largest factor of the cost increase is general inflation impacting the cost of retaining walls, railroad tracks, and the structural steel. So it's a TIF active request. Located here on our map in Provo Canyon. Zoom in along Provo River at Vivian Park. Some pictures showing the existing trail. The trail location, I should say. examples of the retaining walls, the constructability of the project. There is a map in here. Unfortunately, it's not a great, our screens isn't a great way to display this, but I love this map because it shows the connection down here at the very bottom. Here's our Provo River Parkway Trail in the segment we're talking about. And if you look at the entire loop of this trail, goes all the way up, meets up along the Weaver River, connects the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, and it comes back. And the interesting fact on the sheet that I read that must be true because it's here, it encompasses 78% of the population of the state to connect this trail.
We've been working on this segment for 20 years.
Plus. Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
You know, as I talked about before, not only completing that, but it gets people off of Provo Canyon, because right now there's a segment that there's no trail, it's a river, and you can't even do it. So if you want to complete that loop, you got to go over on the highway with vehicles and get back off. So I just think we need a safety factor, and plus supporting the Trails Initiative and everything else. So I move for approval of this. I know it's a lot of money because of the retaining wall and steel, but we need to get this done.
There's a motion and second. Heather, Donna did the second. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Can I just, could you just explain the train track part of this to me? We've probably discussed this before and I'm sorry, I just can't remember, but.
Would you like to?
The train track part, that's part of the Heber Creeper Railroad.
Okay.
The department owns that infrastructure. We don't operate the train. If someone on the commission might remember, they gave the commission a ride years ago. I think Nagi, chairman, was probably with us.
When this gets done, we get to go on another ride maybe.
We got it. But yeah, the tracks are there, and that's part of putting the wall in and having to kind of move it around there a little bit so the trail can fit in. The tracks are still there and everything.
Thank you for that explanation.
This will be one of the most used trails they've used.
I agree. Right, Mr. Price. Mr. Bicycle from Mountain Land.
Jim, is there anything? Jim, do you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Do you have any comments?
Any comments? You want to come up and
I want to say anything.
come up to the podium, give your name? So you drove through the snow to get here, you got to get up and say something.
Did you bike or did you ride?
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. It would have been faster if I'd walked.
Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Jim Price. I'm with Mountain Land Association of Governments, and we've been working on this particular part of the Wasatch Loop for, I'm going on 23 years. This is an opportunity that we have been looking forward to forever. The locals are all in. This is a development that will be generational for use of the canyon for generations to come. One of the problems that we want to avoid are some of the problems that we have in like Little Cottonwood Canyon with access and being able to get people in and out without cars. This gives us one of those elements that allows people to enjoy and see the canyon without doing damage by getting them out of their vehicles all through from Deer Creek Dam all the way down to Provo. Any questions or any thoughts on this?
The parking is gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be enough parking for the people to drive. Park and ride.
There will be enough parking at the moment, but we will be also doing a study that the legislature funded to look at parking and use of the canyon in the future. So we'll be able to answer that question better at some point in the future.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So we had a motion and a second on this item. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-7 is approved.
Before we go to 6A-8, we have an answer to a question earlier. The Layton Case Creek Trail pedestrian structure is 200 feet long.
Okay, thank you.
It's good to have friends in the crowd. 6A-8, the US 6 improvements in Spanish Fork is a funding and scope addition with our Transportation Solutions Fund as well as some local contribution. US 6 improvements in Spanish Fork project is ready to advertise for construction. During the design of the project, it was determined that 2 improvements needed to be added to the original scope of work and right-of-way costs have exceeded the engineer's estimate. The intersection of Canyon Creek and US 6 needed to have dual lefts onto US 6. This improvement will help operations and traffic flow on US 6. The estimated cost for this is $450,000. Some of the improvements needed are on the Spanish Fork City Street. Spanish Fork is contributing to $200,000 for that improvement. Added scope to cover pavement. The second is added scope to cover pavement soft spot repairs that were not included in the initial scope. These soft spots require the same pavement mix design as the US 6 improvement uses, thus providing efficiency and cost savings. The estimate for this scope increase is $100,000. And then our right-of-way costs have exceeded the engineer's estimates and the project does not have the funding available and continues to meet the need. The requested increase of the right-of-way item is $450,000. Located here on our map. Spanish Fork. Our request today is a motion to add funding to the US 6 improvements in Spanish Fork project as detailed.
Again, compliment to Matt for introducing such a beautiful and detailed itemized cost of the project. Thank you.
I move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? Comments? Yes, please.
Quick question, those first 2 improvements, so the dual left turns and the soft pavement repairs, would those be considered in any way safety, repair, adjustments, or are they mostly just for the through traffic usage of the road?
Not answer that.
I'm Matt Parker, Region 3 Program Manager. Yes, so what the dual lefts are doing is we're getting a lot of backing into the travel lane, so it allows the turning vehicles to get out of the travel lane and provide more storage. But also we had the city is providing money in the project as well to provide receiving for those 2 lanes.
So that's safe. Oh, yeah, it's not back up. And the soft spots? I don't.
Yeah, so we have another pavement project that's further up the road, but there are some soft spots and.
Explain, what is a soft spot?
Sorry, the soft spots are like the asphalt is deteriorated or something's happening deeper in the asphalt. So we have to go in and mill it out and put in new pavement. And that is a different mix design than what was in the pavement project that's adjacent to this. So it makes more sense to put it in this project since we already have a similar type of work going on with this project.
Do soft spots become potholes? or-
Yes.
Yes, so it's pretty much the job. The job is to work, when we think about preservation or the type of work we were thinking of, it's top down. This, you have a failure either within deeper in the pavement or even the pavement structure. It could be, down to subgrade. And so you have to get kind of bottom up and it's a different mix design.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I would add in a lot of our pavement projects where we're doing just some milling and overlaying, we actually put a percentage in there to cover this, just in case they encounter that during the construction of the project. But the other project didn't quite have that scope of work in there. So.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Soft spot is kind of like a compassionate verbiage for the pothole. Okay, so we have motion and the second on this particular item. All the favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 6A-8 is approved.
Thank you. 6A-9 is the SR 241 I-15 to US 89 pavement preservation project. This is a new project out of our Transportation Solutions program in Region 3 for $2 million. In preparation of a future funded project, PIN 18428, that will widen and resurface the entire roadway, excuse me, it was determined that an early pavement preservation project was needed to be completed in the area. This project will preserve the pavement with a 2-inch mill and HMA overlay with some soft spot repairs to provide a temporary fix until that PIN 18428 widens and resurfaces the roadway. Located here on our map. Request today is a motion to approve adding the SR 241 I-15 to US 89 pavement preservation project to the current STIP as detailed.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you again. So motion and second, item number 9. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-9 is approved. Thank you.
Item 6A-10 is the US 189 University Avenue and Canyon Road intersection modification project. It's an increase of both state and local match for local funds. The scope of this project is to modify the intersection on US 189 and Canyon Road to make the intersection safer for pedestrian crossing. US 189 from BYU's main campus to classes on the old Provo High School building that was purchased by BYU. BYU anticipates a significant number of pedestrians will need to cross US 189. During design of the project, it was determined that some right-of-way impacts identified as unimpacted previously could not be avoided. In addition to right-of-way impacts, the cost of construction has increased from the initial concept estimate. The main items of escalation are concrete, labor, and an underestimated amount of sidewalk needed on Canyon Road. Located here in our intersection of 189, University Avenue, and Canyon Creek Road, or Canyon Road. Our request today is a motion to add funding to the US 189 University Avenue and Canyon Road intersection modification project as detailed.
I've moved for approval and I'm grateful that BYU is putting some money into the project.
I'll second, but can you remind me what TAP is?
The Transportation Alternative Program.
Thank you.
Any other question? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-10 is approved. Thank you.
6A-11, moving into Region 4, I-15 Manderfield to Cove Fort. This project is currently funded. It's a high-volume road request addition. The scope of the I-15 Manderfield to Cove Fort project is to provide a preservation seal coat in both the northbound and southbound directions from approximately milepost 120 to 135. Pavement conditions have deteriorated faster than planned, and additional scope is needed to address distressed areas within the project boundaries prior to the preservation treatment. So located here on our map. Our request today is a motion to approve adding funds to the I-15 Manderfield to Cove Fort project as detailed.
I still want to make this motion.
Okay.
I've noticed as I've driven recently, particularly at the seams, right? Did I say that right, Monty? So yeah, I want to make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-11 is approved. Thank you.
6A-12, SR 17 Tocqueville bypass. That's a funding addition from the Transportation Investment Fund. As discussed yesterday in the workshop, a portion of this was legislatively directed. The utility section and the request of the 7.7 million is the increase needed for the roadway portions. The Tocqueville bypass project is a Tocqueville City project initially funded through House Bill 433. Once completed, the bypass will be transferred to UDOT and become a new alignment for SR 17, with the former SR 17 alignment becoming a local road. The project was divided into two phases. The phase one under construction and planned for completion in summer of 2023. Phase two has been bid but is short on funding. The increased costs are due to inflation and additional scopes for utilities. Additional funding has been approved in the 2023 general legislative session through Senate Bill 2, which reads, the legislature intends that the Department of Transportation use excess funds from the Transportation Investment Fund to pay utility costs associated with the Tokerville Parkway project. Located here on our map, see the future bypass, see how it's separated into package A and package B, the two phases. A request today is a motion to approve additional funding to the SR 17 Tokerville bypass project as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion. I know a lot of work has been done to find this solution.
That the Commissioner Law and I were there at the groundbreaking of this project.
I'm happy to second it, Nagi, and just in the discussion, just remind us when this will be completed. I don't mean this, but the whole bypass.
Full bypass.
Good morning, Monty Aldridge, Region 4 Director. We anticipate that they'd complete construction on this phase during this summer, this construction season. We're anticipating.
Thank you.
We also have someone from the Tokerville, if you want to come introduce yourself and. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Ty Bringhurst. I'm a councilman in Tokerville City. So I came up just to tell you thank you. This has been a blessing to our city. We're grateful for your willingness to help us. I can't say enough about the willingness and the dedication of Region 4. Dealing with Cameron and Monty has been a joy. And so thank you for putting the right people in the right places. We appreciate it. Appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you. Thank you for coming all the way.
My pleasure.
So we have a motion in the second, item number 12. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-12 is approved. Thank you.
Okay. 6A-13. Also in Region 4, parapet repair, the funding addition from our Transportation Solutions Program. The scope of the SR 31 parapet repair 0F441 and 442 project is to repair and replace the parapets on two structures that have deteriorated. The structures are located on SR 31 at mileposts 26.4 and 26.6. The repairs will improve the safety of these roadside features. The additional funding is needed due to the increased mobilization costs and to address inflation related to concrete, rebar, and other construction related costs. Located here on our map. Pictures. Our request today is a motion to approve additional funding to the SR 31 parapet repair 0F441 and 442 project as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion in a second. Any other questions, comments?
From the picture, it looks like the road in between those two, unattractive parapets. It looks like it could use a little attention too. Is that just the picture?
Yes.
Go to the one before this.
Scroll up. Scroll up. So this imagery is taken from Google Earth, and I'm not certain of the imagery date, and so I don't believe that it would look like that today. I don't know, but I'm not certain. We have, as our pavement program, we certainly do take care of, this is SR 31, and we do maintain it well. And so I don't have an answer as to whether or not that joint looks like that today, but I know that if there's an issue with it, our pavement group would be addressing it.
Thank you.
Maybe back.
I remember being in this region and seeing your drone. Am I getting that right?
Seeing the drone.
Yeah.
We do a fair amount of drone work in Region
Yeah,
4.
I
Yes, we
just-
do, we do quite a bit.
Reminding ourselves that we don't just have to use Google Earth.
Oh, yes.
Right. No, when we, depending on the situation and the type of pictures that we, the photos that we need, sometimes we go to Google Earth and we knew that they had some good pictures of the parapets. So we captured those.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-13 is approved.
Thank you. 6A14, the Dutch John Airport project. And I'm gonna step back and Matthew Moss is gonna talk through.
So glad you're new to our family. You have to introduce yourself a little bit deeper.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. My name's Matt Moss, new Director of Aeronautics, recently appointed, I guess the end of January. And I had the opportunity just after starting with UDOT back in April of presenting the Airport Capital Improvement Plan to the Commission. And so excited to be here. A little bit of history about myself is basically my background is all aviation. I worked for Delta Airlines in operations management many years ago. I left Delta when they were going through their bankruptcy in 2006 and went to the airport management side and managed a commercial airport and 6 general aviation airports in California, in Bakersfield, California. From there, I went up to Oregon and worked for the Oregon Aeronautics for 8 years, and also an engineering firm, aviation engineering firm, for a couple of years before I came here. So I am a commercial pilot with a multi-engine instrument rating, so I do have some experience there as well. So just very excited, born and raised here in Utah, and this is home for me. I have a lot of family here, so just excited to be able to come back home and use my knowledge, education, and skills here furthering transportation here in the state. So
welcome home.
Thank you. The project that we're talking about right here is Dutch John Airport project. It was a project to expand the parking apron. It's very small up there during the summertime when we get a lot of recreators that are coming up there during the hunting season. The airport the airplanes are parking on the dirt, and so this project was going to expand the apron, also reconfigure the taxiway to meet FAA standards, because the way that it was configured, it actually went from the apron directly onto the runway, and so that has proven to cause some issues. That if they want to turn in there to let the pilots know that they're approaching the runway instead of going straight from the parking ramp onto the runway. So that's what this project is for. The background on this at the Transportation Commission last year in June, the commission approved $900,000 for expanding the aircraft parking apron and reconfiguring the taxiway connector to meet current FAA design standards at the Dutch John Airport. This project was put out to bid in November of 2022, and there was only a single bidder, and the bid amount was 73% over the engineer estimate. And so we heard that UDOT was going to be doing some road work up in that area, and they were going to be bidding that in January. So we thought it might be prudent to go ahead and put it back out to bid around the same time, and with the hopes that we would get additional bidders and maybe a better cost. Unfortunately, we only got one bidder, and it was the same bidder as before. And the project came in 7.5% higher than the previous. So we said, we're not putting it out to bid anymore because we don't want to pay any more money. So our justification is due to the remote nature of Dutch John and the limited number of contractors in the area. UDOT is recommending the approval of an additional $540,000 from airport construction account for a total amount of $1.44 million of state funds to complete this construction project.
A couple of quick questions. Is it an in-state contractor?
I believe it is an in-state contractor, yes.
Do you know where it's based?
I don't have the information. I can,
Another one. Who are the type of people that use the airport?
so,
I'm just trying to get a sense if it's
I
for
believe
business,
it's
if it's for recreation, is it?
I believe it's Burdick. They're the
Burdick
ones,
is probably the only one up there.
yeah,
That's like a vernal company?
US based. But they have a hot plant. Problem with Dutch John in Daggett County is there is nobody close to them that bids on this stuff. And Burdick, like it or not, has their own, you know, they bid on it because they have the mobile and they've done it. They have some bids. This is one of those deals, we either do it or we never do it. And if, where we have, I think we're getting some benefit from having two jobs, the highway job plus the airport, and we'll get it done. If we don't want to do that, we won't.
Yeah, Kevin, I think there's no question you want to get it to FAA standards. You know, if you're going to have an airport, you need to do that. It is interesting to think about, here's the subsidy landing, who's benefiting from this? And I just curious who uses the airport.
yeah, you know, I know, as I mentioned, it's a heavy use recreation airport because of the proximity to the Dutch John, the reservoir.
That would be high
Flaming
income
Gorge, I'm
individuals
sorry,
that fly.
Flaming Gorge Reservoir.
There's a lot of people that fly in there to do fishing, run the river.
Yeah, and then I know it's a heavy use for hunting also in the area. So it does get a lot of use during the summer months and fall. Obviously during the winter due to altitude, you're not going to see much activity up there during the winter months. But it is an airport that is heavily used for recreation of the area.
So included in the packet of materials, here's a overview of the Dutch John Airport, its location in Flaming Gorge. And our request today is a motion to approve adding funds to the Dutch John Airport project as detailed.
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'd second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll oppose this one, Nagi, but mostly because I don't understand the subsidy well enough.
Item 6A-14. It's approved with one opposing vote.
Item 6A-4. Let's do this. Well, 6A-15 is the US 189 Emergency Rockfall Mitigation, MAPO 7.6, located in Region 3. On March 10th, 2023, a portion of the rock face next to the ramp from eastbound SR 52 to northbound US 189 fell. The portion of rock that fell left a large section of material that has been undermined and is at risk of falling on the roadway, thus closing the ramp. This project will remove the material that has been undermined and any additional loose material in order to open the ramp. Located here on our map, side of the rock fall, here at the mouth of the canyon, closing this ramp onto US 189. We have some pictures of what the rock face looks like before and after. And so see the section highlighted in red has fallen. And the hanging rock that we can see now on the rock face. Showing here. And how close that is to the ramp. Last picture. Included is the procurement form that was used, as this project was approved at $250,000. This is information only. This project then is approved by the Deputy Director Authority given in the Utah Transportation Commission Policy 01-01.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, the sooner the better, because you can imagine people having to go towards Provo. And then they're supposed to go down another road, but they're all flipping UEs right there on highway, going towards the canyon is pretty dangerous. And so I'm glad we're getting this fixed so we can open that overpass back again. 'Cause Rob, they put lights there and cones there. People don't care. I'm behind and cars are coming, north. So it's really not a safe situation, even trying to divert traffic around right now. So I'm glad that you guys are getting it fixed.
Next item, 6A-16, Mountain View Corridor from 2100 North to Port of Rockwell. This is a scope and funding transfer between two previously approved commission projects. As part of the current funded project, the 12413, which is the Mountain View Corridor 2100 North to Port of Rockwell, the freeway portion of the roadway from 2100 North to Port of Rockwell Boulevard will be constructed. This will complete the connection to the other sections of Mountain View Corridor in Salt Lake and Utah County. This project will help reduce congestion on Redwood Road and I-15 around the point of the mountain by providing alternative freeway connection for traffic traveling between Northwest Utah County and Salt Lake County. During preliminary design and traffic analysis efforts, it was identified that phase 1 connections to the existing Mountain View Corridor in 2100 North, the signalized intersections, would cause safety concerns and significant traffic delays. Additional grade separations at the system interchange on 2100 North and Redwood Road alleviate these traffic and safety concerns. These improvements were originally planned in the phase 2 future funded project of the other in 13420 2100 North Freeway. By moving $115,400,000 of the corresponding scope from phase 2 to phase 1, it will allow overall transportation system to operate safer and more efficiently at the opening of phase 1. The individual project scope and funding have previously been approved through commission action. This action will not change the overall project value and approved scope of the projects. Located here on our map, the Port of Rockwell Boulevard connection and phase 2. And shown here that the intersection improvements. Again, this is information only. Any questions before our last item, 6A-17, we have two projects, two project combinations. Both projects, the above tables show project combinations. The individual projects have previously been approved through commission action. Project combinations are done to provide efficiencies in project delivery. The first one, the Crosstown Trail, 2700 Northwest to Bangerter Highway, and the 4000 South pedestrian rail crossing projects. Again, these have already been approved through action and for information only. Are there any questions? So people want Monty's. Monty's finds now.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, I think it might be good to ask Monty to come forward. We received a call from Commissioner Pollack, and some of the commissioners may remember we had a landslide on what's referred to as the dump road years ago. Region 4 did a great job fixing that project, but it's right near the National Park there. I got a call that the road's moving again. And so, I'm sorry. Okay. And so Monty's folks have been going out there. We're probably not ready to say what we're not sure what's going on right now. I'm guessing, but Monty, if you could share that, because I anticipate we'll be back to the commission.
Yes, again, Monty Aldridge, Region 4 Director. As Carlos mentioned on SR 12 in a location that we call the dump road, we had a slide, and we had a project that completed last year to address that we had funded. With the wet season, we're seeing some more movement today. We're not certain what is causing it. We started taking measurements. Show you a couple of images. No? And I apologize, that I'm not sure which one of these photos is, here, gives you a better perspective. You can see the cracking that's occurring there. We called our geotechnical folks and they went out and visited the site, and we installed some nails. You can see measuring from this nail to that nail. We're measuring the cracks to see how they move. Our folks are currently hoping for some dry enough weather, then go out and seal this crack to keep the water out. We've been monitoring this. As you show here, we've been monitoring this since January 25th. And if you look at the top measurement and the bottom measurement, you can see we've had as much as an inch of movement. I think that's the largest movement that we've seen thus far. And so, again, we're keeping a close eye on it. Moisture is one of the mechanisms, factors that causes slippage to accelerate. So we are concerned about that. We are continuing to monitor. As you can see, we're taking measurements on a weekly basis and have been following this quite closely. I wish I knew specifically what was going to happen, but with a lot of geotechnical issues with this device, we won't get a lot of warning, but we will be continuing to monitor it.
Can you remind us what communities this is?
So this is just down outside of Bryce Canyon. And so it would be in the section between Bryce Canyon City and going back towards US 89, towards the west.
No, east.
Pardon me?
East, down the dump road from Bryce City. So we go down towards Tropic and.
Right, yeah, east of Bryce Canyon City. That's right, east of Bryce Canyon City towards Tropic. So between Bryce Canyon City, SR 63 is the intersection on Route 9 that goes to Bryce Canyon, and then Tropic is further east.
Thank you.
And it was beautiful road. When you finished that, it was just beautiful. Bikers and travelers, it just talk all the time about it.
This was done in conjunction with, and yeah, I should have thought about that. It's done in conjunction with the roundabout there at the intersection of US or SR 12 and SR 63.
Well, good luck to you and to your team.
Thank you. Any other questions with regard to that? Thank you very much.
Well, that concludes our agenda items. Now we go to agenda item number 7, which is information. Next commission is gonna be on the May 4th and 5th in this UDOT complex. Now we're not gonna go through the commission report, so I will start from my left this time. And Commissioner Tasso.
Nothing to report.
Nothing new to report.
I don't have anything relative to my assignments, but I do want to commend the UDOT group in Region 4. Cedar City's working on a solutions development program, and so we've got some great people in this, and Jared in particular, who attend all of those meetings and provide insight. And I just want to commend the team Monty for the attention that Cedar City's getting to help solve some of our transportation issues.
Thank you.
Nothing for me, not either. I just want to report the Cache Metropolitan Planning Organization is doing a study, working with Region 1 to do a study of Western arterials in Cache Valley. And as many of you know, there are complexities with Logan Main Street and transportation through Cache Valley. And there is also a study going on about Logan Main Street. But this has been a very proactive approach to looking at transportation in Cache Valley, which is a rapidly growing area of the state. And I just want to report to you that that's going well. The discussions are insightful and helpful. And Rob White, director, has done a great job of coordinating all of his people working with us on these studies. And it's been very interesting. The complexities are amazing. So it will be very interesting to see what the outcome is. Thank you.
And I did have opportunity today in the Community Impact Board. We had another 5, 6 community projects that we approved the first week of the March. And it's just amazing that how much and how many projects in the state is needed. And that money from oil and gas and coal becomes very handy to finish some of those projects. Otherwise, some of the small communities will have nothing, no money, way to go and find and to do all these projects. And this Wednesday, we had opportunity also to hear from Jared to come and talk about zero fatality in Big CFP gathering. It was just fascinating to see how much we're involved in the cities and communities and the states, the transportation level. And they also had a draft copy of the plans for the comments period, so they put that one for. Any other reports from Carlos, from you, from Terry and Lisa?
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, maybe two things. One, as the commissioners recall from yesterday's conversation about the debrief on legislation, there will be a change between a UDOT person sitting on the ACRZs to a commissioner. So that's something that the chairman will have that authority to make that appointment. And probably want to try to get that by the May meeting, we will get a decision on that. And then I know everyone did receive communication. Region 2 will be sliding a bridge next weekend. Yes, sir. Next weekend, pretty big bridge. Now it is a little bit like watching paint dry, but it's really kind of cool. So if anyone's interested and has questions about logistics, Dave is back here, our deputy director from Region 2. And maybe talk to him about the logistics.
It's very cool. I highly recommend.
Is there a time in the watching paint dry that you would target?
You know, my experience would be is when it's actually starting to move, because it moves very, very slowly. Nathan, do you want to come up and?
It's very cool.
It's.
Well, Nathan Peterson, Deputy Director, Region 2, thank you for the opportunity to come up here. It's been a long time since I've addressed the commission. This is a fun topic, obviously, for engineers. It's a great opportunity. Honestly, the excitement is when they knock the old bridge down, which will happen, I believe, Friday night.
Like break stuff.
Yeah, very noisy. We do have earplugs though. But we do anticipate in moving 13th East over I-80. It should happen sometime Saturday after dinner is what we are told. I know that's not a specific time. This is a very large bridge as far as in surface area. And so like Carlos did say, it is like watching paint move. It will not move at a very, or watch paint dry. It will not move at a very fast pace, but it is very interesting to watch. And Robert Stewart sent out an invite to all the commissioners. I know we've heard back from Commissioner Evans. Project team will be there and can accommodate a visit if you'd like to come watch that happen. If you have any specific questions, I'll do my best.
Just another recommendation. I'm hoping that this is something that's been extended up here, but when we did the bridge slide in Cedar City, our construction management students at SUU were invited to come and be part of that. And so it was a real wonderful real world experience for them and the way it matches when you get to the end, all the weird angles match perfectly. It's amazing.
Yes, yes, it is.
I attended 2 of them. It's just some amazing experience. You have to be there to witness it. So what brand of dishwashing liquid are you going to use this time?
I believe they only use Dawn.
So Nathan, we could make sure the commissioners who are interested have a phone number that if, because you don't have to make this decision, but just to give somebody a call that you want to you're going to come out at this time, we could make sure we have somebody there to meet you and provide you with information.
Yes, Robert Stewart, Region 2 Director, will be out of town, so I will be there. I have cards here today. I can give you cards. Becky Stromas, who is the project director, is aware of this, and she has a plan in place in case you do want to attend. We can accommodate that. So I'll leave my cards with you after the meeting, and we can come in contact if you so desire.
Thank you, Nate. Any other? Terry, Lisa, anything? From the region directors, anything you want to report? Yes.
I have an answer on the surface seal for the Douglas Americans. We actually have a surface seal that's gonna go in this summer. How about that? Answer your question about the condition.
Thank you.
Almost have the answers.
This phone a friend thing is amazing.
Well, okay then. I guess this concludes our meetings today. The last thing I want to know, if anybody's saying want to go home so we can adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
There you go. It's not contested. Well, I get to-
July.
Please, please.